It's still a very mild autumn here on the east coast of Spain. The nights are getting longer, and with the changing of the clocks here, the sun is setting so much earlier, but it still doesn't really feel like autumn is here. I've been having a lot of trouble in the garden lately with things being eaten by slugs and snails. I never had this problem last year, but then again, last year I only had one garden bed, so maybe I was just lucky. Something I've noticed is that maybe one plant out of 5 that I plant together will get eaten, and then if I replace it with another plant in the same spot, that new plant gets eaten too, and the others are left alone. Not really sure why this is. Maybe the slugs are remembering where the tasty plant was and go back to the same spot, or maybe the spot is just cursed in some way, or maybe when the plant is attacked it releases some sort of chemical signal that the slugs can sense and they will flock to that spot. I don't know, or maybe I'm just overthinking this, but that's what's going on in the garden lately. Apart from that, I'm kind of getting back on track with the autumn-winter garden and getting lots of stuff in the ground. I'm looking forward to this first kind of autumn-winter season that I'm actually growing a decent sized garden. I can't wait to see what I learn this year, what works and what doesn't, and what we get to eat during the next few months. With the slightly cooler days, we've also been finally getting back to work on our goat shelter, which we started back in July. It feels like a really long time since we worked on something kind of big, and it just feels really good to have a specific big thing to focus our energy on now. I'll share more about that over the coming weeks, but we have actually been doing a few other fun things as well, which I wanted to share with you this week. Okay, this is getting a bit ridiculous now. Literally every single day the rooster is getting out. In fact, he's out more than he's in these days. Yeah, you! There he is. I think yesterday I had to get him back in like 5 times. I haven't actually seen him get out, so I'm not sure how he's doing it, but I've got an idea and I'm just gonna fix it now. So we've got the chickens run like partially covered with this shade material, but the bit in the middle isn't. I assume that's where the rooster is jumping out from, so I'm gonna put more of that shade stuff up. But first I need to cut down a bit of this tree because it's overhanging too much. The goats are gonna enjoy this, so we'll do that first. Okay, if he gets out of here now, I will be very surprised. He was watching me pretty closely while I was doing that. I think he suspects something's going on. Not sure he's gone now. Hey, what are you doing? Come on. Now I've just got to get him in and we'll see if he gets out again. Come then, go on, off you go. Go on this way. Come then, out you come. Come on. Come on, Una. Oh no, the gate's not open. Una, out the way. Come on, out the way. In you go. In you go. There we go. It's a little chilly this morning. I am just out here looking at this olive tree. I noticed last night that it's got quite a few olives on it on some of the higher branches. I think it's the only tree in our entire farm that has what looks like a half decent amount of olives on, and they also look like really nice olives. So there's a million other things that I really should be doing, but I just can't resist these. I think I'm going to try and get some and try out a sorting method. I wasn't planning to pick any olives at our farm this year, so I hadn't even bought the little handheld rakes that you need, but this particular tree is kind of special and I wanted to harvest it anyway. The funny thing about living in a small town is that everyone knows literally everything about your place, your land. They know more than you even. In the town, people often ask us after specific trees, how they're doing, whether they're producing. And this particular tree has been mentioned a few times as an olive tree with particularly good olives. So I feel like I need to try them, and I also feel like I need to do my best to take good care of this tree. In a sense, it feels like this land doesn't really belong to us, it kind of belongs to everyone, so now I'm just the one who's been entrusted with trying to take care of it, so that's what I've got to do. Whilst I was harvesting the olives, I noticed that the tree actually seemed to be suffering from what I believe is a kind of canker caused by a bacterial infection. So at the same time as picking the olives, I decided to try and prune off the worst affected branches. I'd read that you're supposed to cut the infected branches back about 10 inches behind the appearance of the canker, but in lots of places this was impossible because the canker was appearing right at the trunk of the tree and at the base of the branches. I hope what I've done at least helps somewhat, and hopefully now that we're pruning, manuring and taking better care of our trees again after so many years, it'll become healthier and stronger and better able to resist the disease. The closer I got into the tree and the more I looked around, I realised that the disease was pretty much everywhere. There weren't really any branches that didn't have even a slight sign of this cankery stuff on them. I couldn't possibly cut off all the branches which looked a bit diseased because it wouldn't have left anything really on the tree. So instead I focused on cutting off the bigger branches that had died back a bit and looked to be most infected, and also taking off some of the vertical branches to open up a bit of space and light in the tree and hopefully improve its general health for next year. I've got a basket full of olives. They all look really delicious. I just picked off all of the ones that I could reach or which came down with the branches that I was cutting off. I haven't sorted them through yet, but I'm now going to go and look through them and pick out the ones which look really nice and unblemished. Any that have like slightly deformed shapes or have these little dots or holes on them, that means they've probably got a little larvae from the olive tree fly, I think it's called, in them. So yeah, I'm going to go and sort through these now.
for sure. I've never been so close before. It's one way or the other. No way in between.
Although we didn't have a good olive harvest at our place, some of our neighbours were luckier, and we took part in a couple of other harvests this year as well with friends. Back in September, when the olives were still green, we collected about 25 kilos by hand with some friends, and we left these olives in big pots of water to leach out their bitterness for a few weeks. These olives were going to be for eating. Now it was time to remove the olives from the water and jar them in brine with various herbs. We were aiming for 50 jars, which we would split between us, and with lots of pairs of hands, it barely took us any time at all.
What are we doing, Tofu? We're olive harvesting today.
And then a few weeks later, once the olives were starting to turn black, we helped out at a big harvest where the olives were being collected for oil. If you saw us harvesting the almonds a month or so ago, you'll recognise the process. It's basically a case of spreading big nets out around the base of the tree, knocking or raking the fruit out of the tree and letting it fall in the nets, and then rolling up all the fruit to one end of the net so it can easily be deposited in a basket. Here in Spain, most people don't have their own olive press, so olives are taken to a communal press where the oil is extracted for a small fee or percentage of the harvest. You haven't got a hooky thing? You ran out.
These aren't good enough.
The press normally has a threshold for the quantity of olives you need to provide in order for them to press your olives separately. And if you don't meet that threshold, then your olives just get chucked in with everyone else's and you get back the correct amount of oil, but it's not specifically oil from your olives. This can be annoying, especially if you've grown your olives organically, like we all do in our friendship group, because your neighbours and other farmers probably haven't, and the oil you get back will invariably include non-organic olives. It's a bit of a problem for small producers who don't have enough trees to meet the threshold, which is something like 500 kilos, and who just want to make a small batch of organic oil for themselves. It's something we're kind of thinking about as a group, whether we can maybe find a second-hand old press to rehabilitate ourselves, or whether we can find another press in the local area that's willing to press smaller quantities. We'll keep you updated on that, but it's definitely something we're interested in looking at over the next few years. Come on, chickies, out you come. Come on, out you come.
So, classic problem. We measured the width of the door and the width of between the screws, the holes in the door, and they're exactly the same. So that means that we can't really screw it this way. Obviously we built the chicken coop way earlier than we got this door, so we didn't know. So yeah, we're gonna screw these two pieces of wood, make the hole a little bit narrower so that we have space to screw it, and that's it.
Okay, so when does it open? Oh, it's got a light sensor, that's cool. So Mauro is going to pretend to be a chicken and test the crush detection.
Should I test it with my head? I don't think my head fits
Don't
in
think
there.
your head fits in there. Hey!
Very good. So it did require reading the manual, but it's quite simple. It basically has 3 modes. The manual mode, which you do it by hand. It has a time mode, which you set a time for opening and closing. Obviously that will be inconvenient because of the different times of dawn and sunset, but the default mode, which it makes a lot of sense, is the light mode. Has a little light sensor there, and you just set at what level of light you open and close. Very easy, like an alarm clock, and it will do it. But yeah, we'll see at the end of the day if it closes. Oh yeah, there you are.
There's someone sitting on an egg in. Hello.
Can't really. There she is.
Hello.
It's gonna be the worst lit video you've made.
This is going to be the best lit video I've made. So we just got back. We were out at dusk. So we're going to go and see now how the chicken coop door has performed, whether it has shut, as it has now past dusk, whether there are any chickens stuck inside, whether half of them are outside, half of them are inside. We're going to go and see what's going on. Okay. Well, it's shut, and there's no chickens outside.
Success.
Success. Una, get out. You know, you're not allowed in here. Go on, off you go. Chicken noises from inside. No chickens outside. Great success. So there's a few other things that I wanted to change with the chicken coop and run. Having had the chickens for a few months, I've learnt a few things and seen a few things that could be a bit different. Just spotted an egg on the floor. I guess this means the nest was occupied and someone just got caught short. So one of the things that I want to change is this little area here where we hang the water and the food. Having the water and the food off the ground is really good. I like that because chickens, they scuff up the ground when they're scratching and searching for stuff, and if you have these on the floor, I've noticed that they just get completely full of dust and dirt and bits of twigs, and whatever is on the floor just ends up in there. So in that sense the design is fine, but what I've noticed is that the chickens like to perch on here and then they poo and it falls into the water and the food, so that's not nice. I have to clean these things really frequently. So what I'm going to do is just put some like wire stuff over the top so that they can't get up there and perch, and I'm going to build them another perch where they can happily perch and not poo in their food and water. So a couple of other things that I've done lately. Firstly, I have raised the height of the coop. You might remember that before up here we just had kind of like a shelf. I think we were thinking that we would maybe store stuff up there, but that never happened. So what I decided to do was raise the height of the coop. So I took the kind of shelf part out and reuse the wood along here to build the coop taller. Sorry to disturb you ladies. Oh, we've got a queue. By raising the height of the coop, I was able to add in an extra 3 perches. So previously we just had these 2 perches. I've added in some more, which I think was necessary because we now have 10 chickens. We originally had 6. Here's one of the ones that we rescued from the chicken farm. Her feathers are coming through a bit better now. She's almost looking healthy. Alright, let me leave you in peace. I've also learnt that chickens don't really like to lay their eggs where you want them to, so we did make these nice little doors which just opened into what I thought would be a nice little nesting box, but they don't like using these nesting boxes. They like to lay their eggs on the floor, so these little doors are not useful. I'm also letting the chickens free range quite a lot when I'm around, which I didn't think I would do. I thought it would be too chaotic trying to keep them out of the garden, which it kind of is, but as long as I'm around and I can sort of shoo them away, I just like to let them out because I just love seeing them pecking around and scratching around and doing all their chicken things, and they just seem to love it so much. I can't resist letting them out to free range.